My name is Tim Bucher, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Agtonomy. We're an automation software company in agriculture and some other industrial markets that work with OEMs who make incredible equipment, but don't necessarily have the resources or know-how how to make them smart and make them autonomous. And that's really what all equipment manufacturers are needing to do today for various reasons we'll get into. But that's what Agtonomy does. We don't build tractors, we basically make them smart. So we basically do the sensor stack upwards. So if a manufacturer brings a drive-by-wire vehicle, where right now everything in the automotive space and in other industrial markets, the vehicles are all drive-by-wire. What does that mean? That means that the actuators on them have not only hydraulics and not only mechanical, but also electrical signals that can activate them. So from a central computer, you could actually operate the vehicle, but not necessarily autonomously. That's just at the low level. So what my company does is focus above the drive-by-wire and take in all these sensors. So we use a multitude of sensors, and we work in particular in permanent crop agriculture, which is very, very unique. It's not, everybody thinks agriculture is agriculture. It's very different, right? You got your big ag, your commodity crops, row crops as they're sometimes called, broadacre as they sometimes call it. And then you have your high value crops, which are your fruit and nut trees, your grapevines. It's like a $2 trillion market of our food chain. So it's not as big as the commodity market, but the crops are a lot more valuable, right? A single citrus tree or an olive tree, for example, can be $4,000, right? So if you and I created an autonomous solution, we took out 100 stalk of corn, it's like bummer, but it's not like that big of a deal. But if we create an autonomous solution that can work within permanent crops, which is what Agtonomy does with our sensor stack and compute platform, our autonomy stack above that, that's a big deal, right? So you really have to have precision agriculture.
Yeah.
Not like plus or minus a yard or plus or minus a foot, it's like you got to be dead on. A lot of people think, oh, what you want to do in farming is just get as much yield as you can, right? Plant wheat, get as much wheat as you can. In permanent crops, it's not always that case. Case in point, apples, right? Apple growers, like in the state of Washington, where we work with a lot of growers there, you get paid a different price for, apple juice apples and consumer eating apples. And the big difference there is, the color, the beauty, the perfectness and whatnot. And so now with autonomy and AI, we can go through and scan the trees, understand the sizes, and we work with different analytics companies as well. So you know a tree size and you actually know the optimal crop load for that tree. So when the blooms first come out, you actually use computer vision to count the blooms. And then you can use sprays to reduce the number of blooms based upon, like, this size of a tree should have 52 apples. And you can do that with some sprays initially, and then you can do that with humans or with manipulator robots later in the growing season. And so what you end up with is a genetically better, or, well, a better quality fruit, right? So in what we do, it's not just about automating the workloads that you do within these permanent crops, but also helping those growers to make sure that they optimally manage the crop load on the particular plant. I will tell you that about 10 years ago, there was a big resistance, like, don't tell me how to farm, I know how to farm, right? And by the way, you still shouldn't tell a farmer how to farm, okay? Don't ever do that. Yeah. That's how you not, bring new technology in. Over the last decade, though, there's been more and more challenges for farmers of all type, big, factory farms, as some people call them, to small growers alike. The biggest issue is labor shortage, right? And the labor shortage is not just in terms of immigration policies and who likes to work in fields, because it's hot, it's dirty, it's not a fun job. And less people want to do that. I have 3 children. I'm a 6th generation farmer. And on the technology side too, we'll get to that later. But my kids aren't taking over the farm, and I'm fine with that. So you're seeing the farmers really becoming older and older, and yet we all still need to eat. But what that has done is opened up their accepting of new technology, because quite honestly, they're more desperate now. Right?
Yeah, I mean, we've literally heard that many times today.
Yeah, I'm sure you have, yeah.
So that's really,
yeah. But by the way, there's some other factors that affect labor shortage. One thing that a lot of people don't talk about is regulation changes. So in my farming operation, I used to not have to pay overtime until 12 hours had elapsed during a single day. Then it was changed to 10 hours. And then on January 1st, 2021, it was changed to 8 hours. You can't farm in 8 hours because you might have a storm coming in. You picked a big bin of fruit and it's 5 o'clock. Got to go, right? It's not like a Best Buy store where you can just lock it up at closing time. And so those regulation changes have now forced farmers to work less, right? And so it compounds it. And then you have climate change impact, which you need spikes of labor. So a lot of people think it's just the amount of people. It's also these other variables that have compounded the challenges with labor.